So when I went to Atlanta, a viewer was very kind enough to bring me 2 scraps of zebra wood. And so I'm gonna take a little bit of this one today and try to make a hair stick. A hair stick is just a decorative stick that I use to hold up my hair. So I'm gonna have to get a little resourceful on this one because I don't have a lathe yet. So let's get going. So the first thing I did was take the piece over to my table saw and cut a strip that was roughly about 1/4 by 1/4. I don't have extremely thick hair, so I left mine somewhat slim. And with no lathe, I grabbed my belt sander and clamped it down to my workbench. Then I simply took my stick and started rounding over all of the edges. This might seem like a tedious process, but it actually went very quickly. And I found that the trick was to just constantly keep it moving so that it wouldn't create uneven wear. I would first hold the piece of wood and round over one side, then I would flip it around and round over the other. Once I had the entire thing somewhat even and rounded, I started tapering down one side into a point. Now, I know most of my viewers are men, and so you probably have no idea, but if you're making hair sticks, then they work best if they have a really decent point on the end. That's why pencils work so well. So once I developed the point, then I used that as a reference to start shaping the rest of the hair stick. I wanted mine to just be a kind of a slow taper up to somewhat of a thicker body. Now at this point the stick is longer than what I'm eventually going to need, but I wanted it to be this way so that I would have something to hold on to. And really this is a quick process, but it did just take a lot of sanding away and then holding it up and looking at the shape of it, then sanding away a little bit more. After I got the body where I wanted it, I was just about to cut it to size whenever I thought maybe a 45-degree cut on the end would look a little bit fancier. So I moved my miter over and chopped off the end, making sure to lower the blade nice and slow so that it would make a clean cut instead of breaking the thin material. Then just to clean it up slightly, I went back to the belt sander. Alright, time to test it out. Now, if you're a woman, or a man, and are interested in learning how to use a hair stick to hold up your hair, then I have made a separate video explaining how I personally do it. I have left you a link to that video in the description. Now, I think turners typically finish their round projects on the lathe, but since I don't have one, I ended up rigging up something from scraps to hold the hair stick while I applied the shellac finish. And basically my contraption here, I can just slightly apply pressure on the top and it will hold it in place while I come through with the brush. Then I would let it sit for about 30 minutes and then apply another coat. So it's nothing fancy, but it is something that I really wanted, and it's just always an amazing feeling being able to make something that I want. So I wasn't going to make a video on this because it's just a simple little thing that I wanted, but I decided to go ahead because I thought it was a good opportunity to address a comment that I've been getting a lot, and that's I don't have a shop full of tools, or I don't have this tool or this jig that you're using, so I can't do that. And the number one thing that I tell people getting into the hobby whenever they ask for advice is be resourceful. And I think if you're motivated to figure out how to build something or make something that you want, then that's going to lead you into being resourceful. I don't have a lathe, but I wanted this, and so I thought, well, I'll just try using the belt sander, and sure enough it worked, and I now have a hair stick. The good thing about tools and making stuff is there's not ever just one way to do something. It might be a harder way, it might be a more time-consuming way, but at the end of the day, if you really want to get something done, I assure you, there's a way to do it. So, big thank you to Daniel for giving me the pieces of zebra wood that I created this with. Leave your comments below, and I will see y'all next time.